Well, I did it. I beat the darkness spell. By accident. Hey everybody, this is Dan Mike, and yes, this is the next campaign diary. I don't know what number it is, but we're still chugging along. We're still in chapter 6, and right now we're at the castle itself. We finally made it, I think, after like 5 or 6 sessions that have been devoted to wandering around in the swamp, just trying to get from point A to point B. Now, if you remember the last time we left off, we were in an ambush situation. Jevin had hired the Black Spear Sisters, a mercenary group, that's somewhere in the realm, to help him assassinate Frulam. Now, for my credit, I killed her 4 times, but she came back up. Maybe even a 5th time, but she came back up. Well, we concluded that battle this past Friday, and you know what? It kind of worked out a little bit more in my favor. No, I was not successful in killing Frulam, but it really dramatically changed things. First of all, I beat the darkness spell. I think that was one of the key things, and I've talked about this in the last campaign diary. I didn't want to meta. I'm totally fine with meta. I totally think it's part of D&D. It's just the way it is. I think there's no way around it. Everybody does it, and that's the way it's going to be. But I was struggling with the idea of her, the character who was in the darkness, the NPC that was shrouded in it. I struggled with her knowing who it was. Like, I know I could attack the person who cast the spell and break the concentration, and boom, I'd be out of it. But I didn't feel like that was fair, so I didn't go that route. But anyway, the sisters have also worked in like blind fighting, right? So it's kind of the same idea of being shrouded in darkness. They close their eyes, they concentrate, and figure out where they want to go.
Keenest eye is that which looks inward.
But anyway, she was running away from them. She could hear the noise, she could hear where the spells were coming off, but she was doing a very risky move by jumping in the water and trying to get away. And that's what she was trying to do, because she knew her sister had been killed, her warrior sister, and Jevin had flown away because he was starting to be attacked. They've done all they could, but the assassination tip was not working, so they left. And so she is wandering through the water. She comes up to a tree, kind of puts her hands on it, knows, okay, obviously this is a tree. It goes up, and she used one of her chain spears, which is just a huge, like 30, 40 feet of chain attached to a spear that shoots out like a gauntlet, like a bow and arrow. And she shot it straight up in the tree to get out of the water as fast as she could, because her bat was still there. The bat was still fighting these spiders that had been summoned by Althea, the druid, who was also transformed into a spider. So this bat was the only way out of there successfully. She could keep running, but the safest route was to get that bat free. But anyway, when she shot up into the tree, this is how I beat darkness. This, by sheer accident, is what did it, and it was range. Now, I didn't know that about the spells. Now, I know this probably seems like, Mike, you're a stupid DM. Why don't you know about this? Why don't you know about the spells? Well, I don't. I don't spend my time reading all this stuff. Honestly, I like to be surprised at the table. And so I didn't know about the range thing. And then by the time I shot up there and she was sitting on the branch, suddenly she was out of darkness. She got her life back, technically, and she could see the field. And then she saw her bat. And long story short, she ended up shooting out a spear, one of her spear chains, onto Althea, and hitting her so hard that she changed, that it actually took the last bit of hit points she had. I didn't know she was down so low, but it hit her. She ended up transforming back into her human form as she plummeted down the tree line, down the tree. She was way up in a branch. Actually, she was trying to go after the dark drow, but she got the hit in first, transformed her, and as she was falling down from the branch, Althea, her summoned spiders also disappeared. Right? So that freed up the bat that was struggling with them, trying to get away to go get the drow. Well, after Althea dropped to 0 hit points, fell into the water, and was at the risk of drowning, and all the spiders that she had summoned had suddenly vanished, the drow saw her moment to escape. So she used her ocarina. The large bat came over. She hopped in the saddle. This is like 4 turns for this to happen, 3 turns. But she hopped in the saddle. A couple people took a couple pot shots at her. And the funny thing was, she was really, really low. Matter of fact, the bat was down to like 7 hit points. It was not doing well. And matter of fact, I think it was somebody. I think it was Anodyne, the fairy, took a shot at the bat and hit the bat for max points, but it wasn't enough to kill it. So it was like the last hit before the bat was going to go, and on that turn, the bat was going to fly away. Like it had gotten the drow, and they were out of there. All right, so it was so close. And it was a pretty cool moment at the table. It was just so close. They could have brought that bat down. Of course, who knows what would have happened then? I mean, it would have been a whole nother battle with the sister trying to either get out of there or maybe trying to finish everybody off. Who knows? So luckily we didn't go that route, but she got out of there. But there was another problem. There was another problem going on in the water. Near the boats, Storm and Mortimer had taken it upon themselves to go find the body of the other sister to see if they could steal her weaponry. Well, that turned out to be a pretty poor decision on their part because in the swamp water, you can't just go diving into it and think everything's going to be okay. Well, when they went after her and a couple turns, like this was all going on at the same time as the drow was trying to get away and the bat's trying to get away and Althea and the spiders all trying to attack her. Over on the other side of the map, they were going after the sister. And when they got in the water, the Mortimer did several checks, couldn't find the body. Well, here's the problem. I said earlier when they were in the boat so they could see not only the zombies and the undead fog kind of pushing things forward, but giant crocodiles were sitting on the banks and were kind of coming into the water as the zombies were going past, taking chunks out of them. They were stirred by movement in the water. Well, by the time they got in the water to go after the sister, unfortunately, that body had been torn to pieces by the giant crocodiles. And then out of the water pops 2 more giant crocodiles right in front of Storm and right in front of Mortimer. And it was actually a comedy of errors. Everybody kept getting grappled by the giant crocodiles each and every turn. They'd get out, grappled again, get out, grappled again. I mean, it was just over and over and over again. And they were taking huge chunks out of these guys, so much so that the priest, the cleric, was healing as much as she could. And this battle actually turned out to be pretty brutal. It was 3 sessions, meaning 3 Friday nights of just a simple ambush, which I thought was going to be simple, but turned out not to be at all. And by the time we were done, by the time they finally killed off the crocodiles, which was like this comedy of errors of people being grappled and hitting and then dodging and then getting grappled again and trying to get each other out of it, by the time it was all finished, everybody was spent. I mean, I don't think there was a spell slot available to anybody. Armor had been damaged. Weapons had been notched. Everybody was pretty exhausted by the end of that combat. And so after all of this went down, the dark drow has gotten away. They fought off the giant crocodiles. People have climbed back into the boats and just getting the heck out of there. They made their last plans to approach the castle. They needed time. Now, this is the issue, right? They needed time to rest because they had nothing. They had nothing left. They couldn't go into the castle with no spells, no slots, and their armor being damaged, and practically no hit points. Now, of course, you do have your hit dice and different things like that, but they really wanted to take a long rest, so it was tricky to do because also, what's his face? Snapjaw, he was ready to fight. They had brought all the lizards. You remember in the last campaign, they had struck a deal. They had found the Rings of Mirkul, which brought the clans together, and all the clans now had to come. They went to Snapjaw's camp to get a visual on the rings to make sure this story was true. That sparked rebellion, and they're all these clans are kind of spread out through the swamp, and they're all making their way to the castle at the same time. So if you guys want to rest, but all these guys are still moving forward toward the castle, there's a problem here. So what they ended up doing was sending Snapjaw off. They said, hey, look, find as many as you can. Tell them not to attack till the moon is high, because they have no concept of time. You couldn't say, okay, attack at 2 a.m. No, with lizard folk don't work that way. So they had to give them kind of visual time to let them know when to attack the castle, and to let them know they most likely wouldn't be there at that time because they were still resting. They needed to get all their powers back. It's those powers that, mesmerize the lizard folk to begin with and put their faith in them. So they sent him off to, tell as many clan members as he could, all the lizard clans, that, hey, don't attack yet, wait to this particular time. But yet they're spread out on the left and right side of the bank, right? So there was tons of ways to go. And of course, he can't cover it all. He can't go this way for miles and then that way to let everybody know. So they sent Snapjaw, let's say, to left, and they told Anodyne, the fairy, I'll put a picture up, they still told her, look, go find the clans, see if you can tell them to slow it down, attack when the moon's high, and we will be there. That will cause, a distraction for us to slip in. And so she did, and Snapjaw ended up giving Anodyne a small token so they would know that where this order came from, because all these other clans, they don't know if fairies flying around. They don't know who this person is. So that helped. And of course, the fairy Anodyne had, names of the shamans and different things. So she had some other things to help verify that. So they sent them off in different directions. And then they spent the night, late in the night, recuperating, getting all those powers back. And of course, we did kind of a random encounter, which I don't typically do a lot of. I find that stuff kind of exhausting after a while. But again, I want to sell the idea of the lethality of the swamp. It's just not a place we can go and be safe, right? I mean, you just can't. It's a hard place to have a camp site. It's a hard place to find rest. So we did do some random rolls, but they rolled really, really low and nothing happened, right? So they managed to get through that long rest. But eventually they come to the castle, and I'll put a map up here. This is the new castle now. There is a video in the Tabletop Simulator maps where it shows where my original ideas for the castle, but I had to tear it all down. So this is where we're at right now. It's a 2D map, right? And I've said before, 2D maps with 3D elements still work great, right? So as you see there, I got a little the fog of war there, whatnot. Still blankets off the rooms where people can't see a lot of things. But anyway, they arrive at the castle, and it's all gone to hell. The lizard folk have initiated their attack, so bullywugs are everywhere. There's a huge fight going on, so they began to sneak into the castle. Now, they didn't go straight ahead. They went off to the right and snuck around the bushes. The ranger, who's been using this power wonderfully, I might add, but shot off the pass without trace, so everybody was, rolling incredibly high with their sneaks, just sneaking past the lizard pens and other bullywugs that were just, randomly throwing spears. They're fighting the lizard folk everywhere. There's just a lot of things going on. And the deeper they got in, the higher the perception checks were becoming, because now there's just more people and different things. There were a couple times they almost got spotted. But, something happened. The toads, the bullywugs said, okay, maybe that's not what we thought it was. And they went back to throwing spears from the tops of the tower towards the lizard folk. But they ended up sneaking way off, you can see on the map, way off onto the right, kept going, and they went to the back tower where there was a hole at the top of that tower. And they decided to, hey, let's ascend that, drop in, and then, we'll make our way through the castle. So they did that. The Althea changed back into a spider, and I think it was Pax who grabbed a rope, got on the spider's back, and they kind of crawled up, to the top. And they secured the rope. Now, they looked in at first. We did a perception check. They looked in. They could see, obviously, the hole in the ceiling, which is painfully obvious. But looked down. They could see some bones and different things scattered around. But what they didn't see was the giant spiders that lived up there. Now, I have edited the castle quite a bit. I took out a lot of encounters. I didn't want a never-ending combat scenario to be happening here. Just not a big fan of all that kind of stuff. So I did take some things out. But there was this small patch way in the back where I just thought, I'll keep those. This is an abandoned part of the tower. We'll just keep it up there. Well, that's exactly where they went. I was not anticipating that. So when they got up there, Pax is looking around and sees, as she's tying the rope to secure everybody down there at the base of the castle, she sees them. She sees the spiders. But at the moment, they're all kind of resting. They're not, some are hanging from the top of the ceiling, way in the back of the room. Others are kind of curled up and just sitting there. It looks like they're just kind of in this respite mode. They're trying to be quiet, right? So they wave him up, and the first one to come up is Mortimer, and he's going up the rope. And we did a perception check right when he came up, and he rolls like a 3 or 7. Just terrible roll, and ends up, as he's latching on, knocks off a couple rocks into the spiders, and it alerts all the spiders in the room. They look up, and they could hear the sound of locusts as the spiders now have spotted suddenly these intruders right above them. And that's where we ended. That's what it was. So that was the entire campaign diary, guys. That was it. That's all that happened. It was a continuation of the ambush and then the infiltration to the castle. And this is where we're at. We do play again this Friday. This is kind of a late campaign diary, but we play again this Friday, and that's where we're going to start, right there at the top of the tower with only 3 people up top and everybody else down here with a good 50, 60-foot climb on the rope just to get to the top. Althea is currently a spider way up here, and we've got Pax and Mortimer hanging over, looking into this hole as these giant spiders are like going to make their way out of it. At least that's their plan. They're low intelligence, right? I mean, they're spiders. But anyway, this is where we're at, guys. So anyway, that's it, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for keeping up with this. We're going to play this Friday, and we'll continue this. And, of course, I'll try to get the campaign diary out a little bit faster. No radio drama. Hopefully the radio dramas will continue as we get past the castle, because a lot of crucial things are here right now. We got a lot of principal NPCs. We have Cricket, the Fae, who's been captured. She is there. There's nowhere else for her to go. She is slowly being drained of her power to activate an ancient portal that was working that suddenly went silent. And you can see that radio drama in my Horde Dragon Queen campaign diary radio dramas down there. I think it's like the most recent one. So just, if you want to listen to it, just flip through, you'll see it. But there's a lot of crucial things about to happen here. And it's about time. Like, we finally got to the castle and things can start to change. Anyway, all right, guys, that's it. I'm going to let you go. Campaign diary to come next Friday as we play this Friday. Or not next Friday. It's going to be next week sometime. All right? All right, guys, that's it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for keeping up with us, and I will see you in the next video.